Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, it is always nice to be back to the ILO and especially to discuss a crucial topic about the transformation of the world of work in the 21st century. We have seen a shift in this discussion in the recent years from a euphoria to panic. Euphoria in terms of the admiration that all the new technological opportunities have opened up in our life and also for our work. And this big boost to productivity will help us to achieve what was not achievable before in terms of wealth creation and also sharing. But now the panic dominates. The robots are coming and they will take our jobs and they will change our jobs and also our life towards some kind of dystopia. Obviously, a reflection like this helps a lot, and already from the introduction of Raymond, I think we got some very good inputs. The concern that automation would crowd out humans is not new. Many times when technological development entered a new phase or a new chapter, these concerns have been there. What we experienced, nevertheless, has been in many countries in Europe and also elsewhere, an almost constant increase of employment while technology developed and electricity and ICT became part of the economy and society. Women entered the workforce and the active part of the population became much larger than before. Of course, the other question beyond the quantity is the quality of work and the quality of life. If I can use a simple intra-European comparison here, what I would say is, and this is not very scholarly, but let's say empirical observation, that in the European Union, the technologically more advanced countries are also the higher employment countries, countries with higher employment rates, and also higher living standards and better workplace conditions. The satisfaction of workers from those countries, especially Northern Europe, is significantly higher than elsewhere. Which means that just like many other features of work and economics in general, the technological development and the digitalization also has two sides. If I can compare it to something, the concept of flexibility is typically something with two sides and two completely different concerns. Sometimes it's used to demonstrate that we can adjust the work process to our specific needs, and we can achieve a better work-life balance if more flexibility is given. On the other hand, sometimes we only focus on the downside, on the negative aspects of flexibility, which is practically synonymous with a precarious type of labor market organization. So, at the end of the day, the essence of this debate will be about how to coordinate and how to control technological change, and it should not be beyond the capacity of humans. It should not be beyond the capacity of elected governments to do this. If you remember what happened at the end of last year in Paris, a big international effort to control the change of our climate. If that's possible, and it should be possible, I think controlling the impact of automation and digitalization should surely be possible. The question, of course, remains how this new era of technological development affects work and society. What we can use the increase of productivity for. And in Europe, in my view, in recent decades, there has been a temptation or even a tendency to use the increasing productivity for extending the period of retirement. Probably now we have to think about the opposite. How to use enhanced productivity, especially what is given by ICT and digitalization, to extend the active working life and invest rather in the improvement of working conditions rather than the extension of the period when we are in retirement. But there is, I think Raymond also pointed to this, another important issue here, and this is more a recent discussion, the impact on social inequality. We are now also in the age of Thomas Piketty, and that means that we know a lot more about income inequality and wealth inequality than a decade or 2 decades ago. If we analyze the impact of technological development, especially in Europe, on inequalities, probably we have a reason for concern because the negative impact, the elimination of jobs, the outward migration of jobs from Europe affects heavily the so-called central part, the medium skilled jobs, and indeed reinforcing the tendency of polarization in terms of the income ladder. So that indeed, if the process is infinite and cannot be controlled, surely raises the perspective of the dystopia. That is, if you look at books on the future of jobs, future of professions, and similar literature, in fact, the aspect of the income is often missing. We speak a lot about technology and the work process and how we organize life, but this very important economic dimension, how all this affects income, and whether we can integrate this discussion in an analysis of income differentiation, I think this is very, very important. Now, just one more point, please, about the European Union, because 4 years ago, the European Commission adopted an important forward-looking document about the labor market called the employment package, and we had a big conference, and Guy Ryder was one of the keynote speakers in Brussels in our conference. The forward-looking part was choosing 3 sectors where we expected, despite all the horror of the Eurozone crisis, we expected job growth, employment growth for the forthcoming decade. And that was the digital, ICT, health, and the green jobs. So the EU today is very far from engaging in utopias. And less focused on the long term. Nevertheless, there was indeed an effort to find out where the job structures are developing in terms of profession, because this is also a question of investment. How we invest in human capital, where exactly we define the area of public goods which need to be provided for the current workforce, but especially the future generations in primary education or even preschooling, the identification, the focus on these 3 sectors, digital, green, and health and care, was very important. There are also important interlinkages between the 2, and to launch specific actions to focus on these opportunities rather than threats was a main initiative at that time. So to sum up, what I suggest is to focus on active and healthy aging and how to exploit this new technology for this specific purpose, education and public goods, and finally, more broadly speaking, investing in human capital and trying to take control of the changes of the labor market in order to equalize and share opportunities. Thank you very much.